tried to silence him. They erased his name. But he rebuilt from nothing. He fought every algorithm. They tried again and failed. Now he's back, stronger. From blackout to spotlight, he's at the White House, at the top of his game. Franchi lives.
You are about to enter another dimension, the dimension of truth, unfiltered and uncensored. Welcome to the Raw Feed with Gary Franchi.
Welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, coming to you live from the heart of America. Unfiltered truth to millions on YouTube. Hit those donation links below. Every contribution powers our gear. Every contribution keeps the party going. Help me help you. Hit those donation links. YouTube channel memberships. Special acknowledgement in the fellowship. Your super chats keep me standing. Your Rumble rants fuel every round.
Say hello to super chats.
Spread the intel. Every repost extends our reach.
Super chats fuel this spectacle. Your Rumble rants give me strength.
24/7 members only community, behind the scenes discussions.
Connect with fellow patriots.
My mama always said, life is like sharing the truth. Text this stream to your friends.
What if I told you the app is real? Download the Next News Network app. Android users, take the Google Play path. iPhone users, App Store awaits.
What's up? It's me. I'm back. How you doing? Good to see you. Yes, I've been out of the studio for a week, and it is, wow, man, so much has happened in this past week. Just over the weekend. Yeah, we're going to get caught up with you. Tom McCullough, our White House correspondent, did a hell of a job here. Thank you, Tom, for filling in. Filling in at the studio here at Next News. But we've got to jump into the news right now because the leftist meltdown over Trump's policies has now reached a fever pitch. And tonight we're seeing exactly why they're so desperate to stop America First momentum. I'm Gary Franchi. This is the Raw Feed. Before we dive into today's stories, let's take a look back at this day in history on February 23rd, 1836. The siege of the Alamo began in San Antonio, Texas. For 13 days, brave Americans, including Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie, held their ground against overwhelming odds, fighting for Texas independence. Their sacrifice became a rallying cry that ultimately led to victory and to state. It's a reminder that sometimes standing your ground against impossible odds is exactly what freedom requires. That same fighting spirit is alive and well today, and we're seeing it play out across multiple fronts in ways the mainstream media absolutely refuses to cover honestly. First up tonight, we're taking you inside a shocking incident that happened at Mar-a-Lago, where the Secret Service was forced to neutralize, yes, neutralize, a serious threat. An armed intruder with disturbing intentions breached the perimeter of President Trump's residence. The response was swift and decisive. We've got all the exclusive details about who the person was, what they were carrying, and the troubling pattern that we're seeing of escalating threats against conservative leaders, and of course, President Trump's reaction. The establishment media wants to downplay this, but we're going to tell you exactly what happened and why it matters. Next, we're breaking down the Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs and how the Trump administration is responding with characteristic strength and clarity. While Washington insiders predicted economic doom and gloom, the results speak for themselves. Billions in new investments, reshored manufacturing, and successful trade negotiations have proven the America First approach works. We'll show you the numbers they don't want you to see and explain why this victory has the globalist establishment absolutely panicking. But not everyone in Washington is celebrating American success. Our third story this evening exposes the shameful obstruction that's happening right now in the Senate, where establishment Republicans are actively sabotaging legislation that will protect American elections. I'm talking about the SAVE Act. It should be a no-brainer, but we're seeing the same old games from the same old players who never wanted Trump to succeed in the first place. One congressman is calling out this betrayal by name, in his words, explosive. Then we're heading south of the border, where the cartel violence that Democrats pretended didn't exist for 4 years is now trapping innocent American tourists in a war zone. Canadian families are sheltering in hotels while armed cartels battle in the streets what was supposed to be a vacation paradise. We've obtained exclusive footage that shows the reality of what unchecked cartel power looks like, and it's a sobering reminder of what happens when law and order breaks down. And finally, we're taking you to New York City, where the consequences of electing radical communists are hitting residents right in the wallet. The new mayor over there, who promised to tax the rich, not you, is now demanding massive property tax increases on working families while implementing bizarre new regulations that have citizens absolutely furious. We've got the heated confrontation that perfectly captures how fed up New Yorkers are becoming with their own terrible choices. Each of these stories connects to a bigger picture that the corporate media desperately wants to hide. They want you to believe that conservative policies don't work, that America First is somehow extreme, and that the chaos we're seeing is just random events with no connection to failed liberal governments. But the truth is starting to hit us right in the face. Every single day, we see more evidence that Trump's approach delivers results, while Democrat policies create disaster. From economic prosperity to border security, from energy independence to standing up to our enemies, the contrast could never be clearer. And tonight we're going to cut through the propaganda. We're going to show you what's really happening. No spin, no corporate talking points, just the raw truth that they do not want you to hear. Because in the world of fake news and manufactured outrage, somebody has to tell you what's actually going on. And that's me. So let's get started. Who's here tonight? Pothead Kenny, James Fay, Kim Weig, Ruby Hoove has just gifted 5 memberships. What's up, Ruby Hoove? Thank you for that. Bill's Rules Blue Eyes is in the house. Everyone filing in. Great to see everybody tonight. Let's see if there's any super chats to check in on. Okay, no super chats, but Ruby Hoove is kicking off the gifting. Let's see if we can hit our goal tonight. And if you want to be on the exclusive insiders list That's the number on the screen right there. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963, and you will be the first to know when we drop unlisted videos, when we go live, when we have an emergency announcement that needs to be distributed. You will be the first to know. Because you can't rely on YouTube, you can't rely on email. The best thing we can do is reach out directly to you via text message. And of course, it makes it easy for you to forward that text message to your friends. Grow the movement. That's how we do it. So let's get into the show right now. And we are going to okay, all right, let's go. Let's just get this started. Let's check out some notes here. All right. Another day, another attempt on Trump's life. This time, a shotgun-wielding maniac with a gas can breached the secure perimeter at Mar-a-Lago in the dead of night. The Secret Service did what they had to do. They put him down permanently, but here's what the mainstream media does not want you to know about this latest assassination attempt. Now, this is not just a random break-in, my friends. This is the fourth serious attempt on President Trump's life, and we're not even through the first year and a half in office. I mean, think about what this means for you and your family. If they're willing to go this far against the President of the United States, what do you think they'll do to ordinary Americans who support him? Less rhetoric has created an environment where violence against conservatives is not just accepted, it's encouraged. Treasury Secretary Bissett called it exactly right. This venom is coming directly from the Democrat Party and their media lies. They've normalized political violence, and now we're seeing the deadly consequences. And speaking of deadly consequences and being prepared for what's coming, you see, something's brewing and you can feel it. The problem, well, you never know the full story until after the crash, after the collapse, after it's too late. And here's the brutal truth. You can't protect yourself afterwards. You have to be ready now. All this uncertainty, the chaos, the warning signs might just be telling us that something massive is coming. While politicians play games with our economy and radicals threaten our stability, smart Americans are taking action, and that's why I trust Noble Gold Investments to help secure my financial future with precious metals. When everything else fails, gold endures. So do not wait until it's too late. Call Noble Gold today and protect what matters most. You'll find that number on the screen as well as the link to Next News Gold. But here's the part that should terrify every American. You see, this wasn't some spontaneous act of violence. Austin Tucker Martin, a 20-something artist from North Carolina, didn't just wake up one morning and decide to attack Mar-a-Lago with a shotgun and a gasoline can. Someone or something pushed him to this point. His own mother reported him missing, which means this was planned. The Democrats' constant calls for resistance and their media allies painting Trump as Hitler does have consequences. Senator Marsha Blackburn reacting, "We're grateful for the swift and decisive action by law enforcement at Mar-a-Lago to stop this threat. Rhetoric matters, and Democrats have a duty to do their part to prevent future attacks on President Trump." But no, I don't think they really care. They don't want to prevent future attacks. President Trump is dismantling their entire system, their entire game. He is the obstacle to their globalist takeover of this nation. That's why these things continue. We're going to get President Trump's reaction in just a moment, but let's hear Marsha Blackburn first.
This is the third time we have seen an attempt on President Trump's life, and we are pleased he was not there and are grateful for the swift reaction, and know that FBI, Secret Service, Palm Beach County are conducting this investigation, and I am certain in the next few hours we are going to know more about how this individual was able to breach that perimeter. And also, you know, Mike, we're going to know more about this individual and their political leanings and their reasoning. And I'm certain that the family is going to be able to provide some insight into this. I think it is also a reminder that rhetoric matters. And this continuing with the Trump derangement syndrome and villainizing the President of the United States without respect to the individual or to the office, this is something that people should think twice before they speak in that manner.
What questions would you have if senators get a briefing on this incident from federal authorities?
Yes, I think that as we're learning that the family reported the individual missing, and we're going to want to know more about what that report entailed to law enforcement and the mental illness, and if it is a severely mentally disturbed individual. We also are going to want to know about law enforcement and the breaching of that perimeter and the difference in the security when the president is present at his residence and when he is not.
Thankfully, the president was not on site when it happened. But her opening statement about the rhetoric sets up the analysis and how this political violence is being analyzed by law enforcement. GB News, what we are seeing is political ideology played out in political violence. That's a quote. Law enforcement litigation expert Dr. Sonny Slaughter discusses the U.S. Secret Service fatally shooting a man for unlawfully entering President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home.
Well, what we are seeing is political ideology play out in political violence. And apparently this young Well, what we are seeing is political ideology play out in political violence. And apparently this young man went missing off the radar of his parents from North Carolina. He's 21 years old. And for some reason, and we don't know yet because this is still a developing story, he decided that it was the smart thing to do to take a gun and gas can onto the property of Mar-a-Lago, and thank goodness the president was not there.
Dr. Sonny, there appears to be lots more targeted attacks, or at least publicized targeted attacks, with President Trump than perhaps there has been with previous administrations. What do you think we can read into this?
You know, I was thinking the exact same thing when we were going back and forth about my appearance today. A lot more targeted, but also very, very visible. Now, I've been traveling around with U.S. senators and members of Congress for years. And even when you think about the other attacks on previous presidents, they have been vast. But lately, what we are finding out in the last year or two is that more information is coming out about these attacks, and particularly those on President Trump. What we know is that attacks, targeted attacks, do happen, but what we are seeing is that they're communicated at a high rate now more than ever. And I don't know whether more people are paying attention or whether the White House has decided that this is important for people to know. And I think two things can be true at the same time, and both of those things are true. More is happening.
More is happening. The political ideology as violence bridges perfectly to the hard details we're getting. Update from MJ Truth Ultra, Mar-a-Lago breach. Suspect was a white male in his 20s, also carrying a gas can in addition to a shotgun. Authorities are asking local residents to check their security cameras to see if they see anything suspicious. Here is some early reporting.
I have with me from the FBI, Special Agent in Charge Brett Stiles, Special Agent in Charge Rafael Barrios from the Secret Service. Also, I have Resident Agent in Charge David Clancy. At 1:30 this morning, the security detail detected that an individual had made his way into the inner perimeter of Mar-a-Lago. A deputy and two Secret Service agents on the detail went to that area to investigate. They confronted a white male that was carrying a gas can and a shotgun. He was ordered to drop those two pieces of equipment that he had with him, at which time he put down the gas can, raised the shotgun to a shooting position. At that point in time, the deputy and the two Secret Service agents fired their weapons and neutralized the threat. He is deceased at the scene. I'll give you a picture of the shotgun and the gas can to have with you. So that's what we know now. The investigation continues. The FBI is the lead investigation.
Now here is a picture of the shotgun laying on the ground and the gas can. You can see it clearly there in the imagery from the investigation. Secret Service shot him.
We are back with the Fox News alert. We can now report, per U.S. Secret Service, that an armed man in his 20s was shot and killed by U.S. Secret Service agents in the local sheriff's department at Mar-a-Lago after unlawfully entering the secure perimeter.
Any minute now, we're expecting a press briefing out of Mar-a-Lago from the FBI, Secret Service, and local officials. So what we understand at the moment is that overnight, around 1:30 in the morning.
So you saw some of that press briefing, but the details about the male with the shotgun, the gas can, are the setup for the next. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent blames the latest failed assassination attempt on Trump inside Mar-a-Lago on the Democrats because of their increasing calls for violence against Republicans. Listen.
This morning. And Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us. We had planned to have you on this program to discuss tariffs, but let me first begin with your reaction. Do you know if President Trump was in Washington at 1:30 a.m. last night?
Good morning, Maria, and good to be with you. I just spoke with President Trump. He spent the night in D.C. He was here for the National Governors Conference, gave a great speech to the governors last night. And, you know, Maria, I just want to say, why don't we look back here and think two would-be assassins dead, one in jail for life, and you know, this venom coming from the other side. Look at this terrible, profane Senate commercial in Illinois. I would call for them to take that down. Take that down, because it is that kind of venom that, you know, we don't know whether this person was a mastermind, unhinged, or what, but they are normalizing this violence. It's got to stop. I want to congratulate Sean Curran and the Secret Service for protecting the president and his family.
And how is it possible that this individual could have gotten as close as he did to Mar-a-Lago last night?
Yeah, for anyone who's driven along there, the perimeter is very very protected. So we'll see. I don't know whether did he come along the beach? Did he? I don't know. But I can tell you the Secret Service is running. They are so much better now than it was in Butler. New leadership and President Trump and his family. They're safe, but they shouldn't have to endure attempt after attempt.
And Secretary, will there be any further changes in terms of the president's security, the security at Mar-a-Lago post this incident?
Yeah, Maria, I'm not going to discuss that on TV, but okay. I think the perimeter around the president is as strong as it's ever been. But again, this existential threat, this venom from the left, really has to stop. They've normalized this violence.
They've normalized the violence. Nobody goes to work hoping to draw their weapon. The goal is public safety. Former Secret Service agent Bobby McDonald tells Nick Farelli the death of the man on Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate would have been a last resort.
We need to say for the men and women involved, the law enforcement officers, there have been some controversial incidents over recent months, but it is reported that they gave this man every opportunity to give up, and instead he effectively went on the offense.
Look, our discipline has had some trouble over the last couple of years, absolutely, especially in the United States. But the men and women of law enforcement go out every day to protect their community. Nobody, none of us ever goes to work hoping to having to draw our weapon and ultimately discharge it and allow for a life to be lost. That is not the goal every day. The goal is public safety and making sure that within the Secret Service, our protectees and their properties are safe and sound every day.
That's not what they wanted to do when they went in to work that day, but that's how it ended up. Nick Sortor also breaking the news. Secret Service shot and killed an armed intruder while penetrating the secure perimeter at Mar-a-Lago, carrying a shotgun and a gas can. First images that we saw, actually from Laura Loomer. She caught the images, posted them first on X, and then found that the young man was missing. Parents had called him in missing. And there he is. That's a picture of him. The suspect's identity as a North Carolina artist gives us the perfect setup for Trump's own reaction, from whom the shooter was to how the target himself is responding.
I don't know how long I'll be around. Got a lot of people gunning for me, don't I, huh? But I will not forget them. I'm never going to forget them. I don't know how long I'll be around. Got a lot of people gunning for me, don't I, huh? But I will not forget them. I'm never going to forget them.
You can hear it in his voice, man. He knows it. A lot of people gunning for him. That's why we need to pray for President Trump. We need to pray for this nation every single day. Pray for protection. God has his hand on this nation. God has his hand on this president. I believe that. What happened in Butler was a clear miracle when his head was turned in just the right moment, dodging that assassin's bullet. It could only be the hand of God there. And again, the hand of God placing President Trump in Washington, D.C. when somebody else would go and breach the perimeter at Mar-a-Lago. President Trump knows that his enemies are all around him. But the angels of the Lord are around him as well. Let's keep praying for that. You see, the Secret Service saved America that night, because if that lunatic had succeeded, he'd gotten past the perimeter with his weapon and his gas can, we'd be looking at a completely different country today. Thank God for the brave men and women who put their lives on the line to protect our president from these deranged leftist assassins. See, this is exactly why Trump won in a landslide. The American people are sick and tired of the left's violence and their hatred. Every failed assassination attempt, every act of leftist terror, every unhinged attack just proves that Trump is the man they fear most. He's the only one standing between us and their radical agenda. The Secret Service did their job perfectly, but we can't rely on them to stop every attack. We need to stand up. We need to speak out and make it clear that political violence has no place in America. So my question for you, do you think that Democrats will finally condemn this violence, or will they keep pushing their supporters towards more deadly attacks? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, check out the Next News merch shop to show your support for real America First journalism. You know, it's heartbreaking when you have to present this news like this. It's just another reminder of how much danger this man is in and how much of an effect he's having on this nation. Looks like we got a super chat from Chad Levrow, $19.99. Thank you, Chad. What's up, Chad? Good to see you, buddy. And James Fay dropping $20 as well. Hello, N3 Patriots. We're well on our way to hitting our goal of $100 tonight. And of course, Ruby Hoove gifting out those memberships today. Thank you for that. Moving right along. Did you guys see that music video I made? That was pretty cool, right? I thought so. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, maybe we'll play it later. Maybe at the end of the show. But if you want to see it now, you certainly can. It's on our X account. It's on our YouTube channel. So let's see what else we've got going on here. We're going to talk about the administration and the Supreme Court ruling right now. The Supreme Court just tried to kneecap Trump's tariff strategy, but here's what they didn't expect. The Trump administration was already 3 steps ahead. While Democrats celebrate what they think is a victory, Treasury Secretary Bessent just dropped a bombshell that changes everything. You see, the left thought they had Trump cornered, but wait until you hear how he's about to flip the entire situation. See, this is not just about trade policy. This is about whether America can protect its own workers and industries from foreign manipulation. For decades, globalist politicians sold out American manufacturing to China and other countries. You see, Trump's tariffs brought jobs back home and generated billions in revenue. Now, the establishment thinks that one Supreme Court ruling is going to stop the America First agenda. But here's what this means for you. See, if Trump can secure fair trade deals, your job could be next to go overseas if he can't do it. If we can't reshore critical industries, we'll be dependent on hostile nations for everything from medicine to technology, and the political implications are massive. This is Trump proving he can outmaneuver every obstacle the swamp throws at him. Now, speaking of fighting back against the system, I do need to share something that's personal about overcoming challenges. You see, for years, my wife battled chronic pain and anxiety from her diagnosis, endless doctor's visits, treatments that failed. Watching her struggle daily, it broke my heart. The medical establishment kept pushing expensive solutions that didn't work. Then Jonathan Otto introduced us to red light therapy, and everything changed. Her pain vanished, anxiety lifted completely. It's not some pharmaceutical scam. This is actually NASA-developed technology, and it heals at the cellular level. Just like Trump fights the swamp, we had to fight the medical industrial complex, and red light therapy works when traditional medicine fails. So visit our sponsors, myredlight.com, and discover the healing power they do not want you to know about, and use code NNN for deep discounts. It's linked below. And just like that breakthrough changed our lives, Trump's tariff strategy is about to change America's economic future. Now here's the twist the mainstream media won't tell you. You see, Bessent just announced that tariff revenue won't drop by even $1. And how is that possible when the Supreme Court supposedly blocked Trump's emergency powers? See, the answer reveals that Trump's brilliant 4D chess move is in play. While his opponents thought they were winning, Trump's team was already implementing Section 122 tariffs to replace the emergency ones. Trade deals covering 40% of American goods remain intact. Here's the Treasury Secretary on the Supreme Court ruling.
Today was a loss for the American people because by taking away President Trump's instantaneous leverage using the IEPA authority, the American people have suffered a significant setback. Think to this time last year when President Trump put on the fentanyl tariffs against Mexico, Canada, China for the precursor chemicals, and then we saw a rapid decline in fentanyl deaths. If that's not an emergency authority, what was? On October 8th, when the Chinese government said that they were going to put a worldwide export control on any product that had 0.01% Chinese rare earths in it, 24 hours later, President Trump said that he would impose a 100% tariff on China if they did it. They immediately came to the negotiating table, and we were able to negotiate a 1-year extension. So in terms of the direction of travel, national security, how we will get there with these deals, nothing, revenue, nothing has changed. But what has changed, the Supreme Court has taken away the president's leverage, but in a way, they have made the leverage that he has more draconian because they agreed he does have the right to a full embargo.
He has a right to a full embargo. Oh, you got to love it, right? Oh, yes. Bessent is calling this a setback, but watch how quickly the administration pivots to their backup plan. Here is Stephen Miller, one of my favorites in the administration.
Justice Thomas said so brilliantly and eloquently, the language of the statute is clear. Under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the president has the authority to regulate foreign trade. And going back to the founding of our country, the term regulate has always meant and included the power to levy duties. But here's the good news, Laura. As cowardly, as horrendous as the Supreme Court ruling was, as poorly as it reflects on John Roberts' court and the continued torturing of our statutes and our Constitution, here's the good news. The court also affirmed the president has the authority under Section 301, Section 232, Section 122, Section 338, and many other provisions of federal law that the president can levy tariffs on foreign nations. So his program will not only be fully reconstituted, but it will be expanded. And one more point, Laura. The Supreme Court also affirmed that under IEEPA, the president has authority to restrict, impede, deny, license, or even fully embargo any foreign trade. So the net result of all this is we're going to keep and grow the tariffs to bring back American manufacturing, which keeps prices low by incentivizing products to be made here in America. But it also means that President Trump has even more tools when it comes to dealing with foreign countries that undermine our security.
Checkmate. Oh, yes. Stephen Miller's framing of this actually strengthens Trump's position. Here's how they're spinning the loss into a win. President Trump, those members of the Supreme Court who voted against our very acceptable and proper method of tariffs should be ashamed of themselves. The decision was ridiculous, but now the adjustment process begins, and we'll do everything possible to take even more money than we're taking in than before. President Trump reacting, and Scott Bessent also going on CNN to discuss the tariffs even more.
I want to point to what we're doing. The president, the administration remains undeterred in reshoring American factories and getting rid of these massive trade imbalances. That's the big story here, is that we are immediately going to go to Section 122 tariffs, and that the revenue for the U.S. Treasury for 2026, the projections are unchanged.
Unchanged projections. Yeah. A little bit of a roadblock, and President Trump drives right through it. The Senate is emphasizing continuity. They want everyone to know the money keeps flowing despite the court ruling. Here's more from the Treasury Secretary with Dana Bash.
This 122 authority is good for 150 days. During that time, we will do study on Section 232, which will be done by Commerce Department, Section 301, which will be done by USTR. Those tariffs remain in effect and have withstood more than 4,000 challenges since the president's first term. So during that time, it is very likely that those studies will result in higher 232s, higher 301s, and it will get us back to the same tariff level. We've been in touch with our foreign trading partners, and all of them want to keep the trade deals that have been set. Dana, we've had great economic results over the past year. 4.1% second quarter GDP, 4.3, 4.4 in the third quarter, and it would have been a very strong fourth quarter if the Democrats hadn't shut down the government to hurt the American people.
Games are just beginning, my friends. If you haven't done so yet, text Raw Feed to 844-840-4963. That's our new text message system. Be the first to know when we go live, never miss a show or an update. Secretary Bessent's telegraphing that foreign partners are cooperating, but let's hear what top trade representative says about those same deals. Ambassador Greer
spoke with my counterpart from the EU this weekend. I have a call that I'm going to have with others. I spoke to my counterparts in other countries. And so the deals were not premised on whether or not the emergency tariff litigation would rise or fall. They weren't premised on that. So it's totally normal for these countries to talk to each other, have meetings internally to determine this. But rest assured, I've been speaking to these folks as well. And I've been telling them for a year whether this case, whether we won or lost, we were going to have tariffs. The president's policy was going to continue. That's why they signed these deals, even while the litigation was pending. So we're having active conversations with them. We want them to understand that these deals are going to be good deals. We expect to stand by them. We expect our partners to stand by them. And I haven't heard anyone yet come to me and say the deal's off. They want to see how this plays out. I'm in active conversation with them on it.
Remember Liberation Day? Back in April last year when this all began? Yeah, they tried to derail it, but no. Ambassador Greer is backing up Ascent's claim that partners will honor existing agreements despite the legal setback. So even they all signed tariff agreements. So the Supreme Court ruling doesn't even matter. Now, Bessent is promising seamless transition to new tariff authority in just 3 days, and now watch the official policy, how it reflects the confidence.
Bessent and myself, we've established strong relationships with our counterparts. Our deals were not premised on whether or not this case remains in place or not. As you mentioned, we have a variety of tools.
Variety of tools in place. Nothing's going to stop the Trump agenda. Trade rep doubling down on the hard numbers and specific benefits. This is their closing argument that tariffs work regardless of court rulings.
One, I've heard from a lot of Republicans over the past year, ones who traditionally, weren't always in favor of tariffs. They've now come around and they said, one, we've seen this as effective to negotiate deals. Two, we've seen it's effective to reshore. And three, it's real money coming in. And so I've heard from folks all over the spectrum. And I have to point out, too, we did get one Democrat voting in favor of the tariffs as well. And the Republicans who voted against the president, they vote against him on everything. These are people who are either in the doghouse or on the way out. So it's not really representative of where the party is.
Well, one of them.
You see, this is the moment you realize Trump didn't just survive the Supreme Court challenge. He used it to strengthen his position. The establishment threw their best legal shot at dismantling America First trade policy, and Trump turned it into an opportunity. Foreign partners are scrambling to maintain their deals because they know Trump still holds all the cards, including full embargo powers. You see, the deep state thought they could use the courts to stop Trump's economic nationalism. Instead, they proved that Trump's team is always thinking several moves ahead. While Democrats celebrated their victory, Trump secured America's trade future through multiple legal pathways. See, this is what winning looks like. Turning every attack into an advantage, every obstacle into an opportunity. The tariff revenue keeps flowing, jobs keep coming back, and America keeps winning. The swamp will never learn that you can't outmaneuver a master negotiator. So do you think that Trump's ability to adapt his tariff strategy proves he's the only leader who can take on the globalist establishment? Check out the next news merch shop to show your support for America First policies. All right, moving right along. No more super chats to speak of. And I'm just curious if you are here because you received a text message. Because now this new system we have in place, it's pretty cool. And as soon as the stream begins, you get a text message alert. So we're trying to build up that list. And if you want to join it, we want to bypass the algorithmic control because people don't get YouTube notifications. If you're one of those people who's tired of missing a show or missing an update because you don't get your notifications that you've asked for, we have the solution. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963. Oh, nice. Mary and Karen, you all got the text. Awesome. Sweet. Okay, that's great news. Good to know the system's working. And we're going to move right into our next topic of the evening here. We got a big problem. We got a real big freaking problem right now, guys. I'm gone for a week, and we're still talking about the freaking SAVE Act. They haven't got this thing buttoned up yet. Yeah, we got some problems. So we're going to try to solve them right now, but we're not going to solve everything in 20 minutes. But we do need to keep the pressure on, folks. Mitch McConnell is single-handedly blocking the Save America Act, legislation that has massive public support and would secure our elections. But here's the kicker. Republican Tim Burchett says McConnell's cognitive decline is so severe, we don't even know if it's actually him making these decisions or his deep state handlers pulling the strings. See, it's not just about a bill. It's about whether America can secure its elections while establishment Republicans work behind the scenes to sabotage Trump's agenda. You see, the SAVE Act would require proof of citizenship to vote, something of 80% of American support. But McConnell, whose mental capacity is clearly declining daily, he's using his position to block it out of pure spite against Trump. Meanwhile, the new Senate Majority Leader John Thune won't even commit to forcing a real filibuster to get this passed. If they can't pass legislation with overwhelming support, what hope do we have for the rest of Trump's agenda? This exposes how the swamp operates. Even when Republicans control everything, Republicans in name only, the establishment finds ways to obstruct America First policies. Speaking of things happening behind the scenes that most people are missing, some breaking news is breaking quietly, and most people missed it completely. While headlines focused on McConnell's obstruction, the Trump administration just released a document that could fundamentally reshape the U.S. mining sector. Now, this is real. It's unfolding right now under Executive Order 14241. I was boots on the ground. I actually saw this in action when I was in Canada. You see, this goes far beyond typical policy changes. We're talking about complete transformation of how America approaches critical mineral independence. The executive order specifically targets rare earth elements and copper production. I was standing on top of billions of pounds of copper just last week. You see, that copper production will position America to break free from Chinese supply chain dominance. And Vizsla Copper, who I was with, they've been tracking these developments closely. I saw with my own eyes. And the latest intelligence briefing reveals how this could create massive opportunities for American mining companies. Now, the timing is not coincidental because Trump knows that true America First policy requires domestic mineral security. It's happening right now. While everybody is distracted by Senate games, the establishment wants you focused on their theater while real change happens quietly. Check out the intelligence briefing that's been prepared just for you. You'll find it linked below. But here's what really exposes the corruption. Tim Burchett reveals that McConnell's staff actually runs interference when anyone asks basic questions about legislation. When Burchett demanded to know how much money was in a bill, staffers literally told him he couldn't ask that question. You see, this is not governance. This is controlled demolition of accountability with a cognitively declining senator as the front man. Tim Burchett's hilarious response after Bernie Sanders opposes the Save America Act by saying, "I don't know how to get my birth certificate."
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. I woke up this morning perplexed that one of our U.S. senators doesn't know how to get his own birth certificate. Bernie Sanders, I think he represents Vermont, but he was born in New York State, I think in 1941. So I just typed in my little cell phone here in the Google search. And if you don't know the Google search, Bernie, that's Google. If you'll click it and then type in, after you get it up at the top, how to get a birth certificate in New York. And guess what? It popped right up. No way. The Vital Records Department. And then you just scroll down and it says birth certificate, oddly enough. Crazy talk. What? And then I clicked on that and it went through what you need to do. And then you can even use your credit card, which I'm sure you as a capitalist will have a credit card. Or if you don't, I'm sure one of your many staffers will have that. And all you got to do is fill it out. And dadgum, guess what? They'll mail it to you, Bernie. It's crazy talk. Or they can, I think they can even send one to you online. I mean, it's just incredible. On the internet? I was perplexed on this whole issue that we were causing great consternation on you. And now I understand the governor of California as well. So I would encourage you to do that, Bernie. If you don't know how to do that, ask one of your many staffers. I'm sure they will assist you. It's a very simple process, Senator. And there's no reason that you don't get in line with about 85% of your constituents that think you, in fact, should be an American citizen to vote, and show proof of that with a birth certificate. Oddly enough, it's the same dadgum birth certificate that if you were a young man, you would have to show if you were going to play Little League Baseball. It's crazy. And then what do you got to do when you go vote? Show your photo your photo ID, your driver's license. And if you don't have a driver's license, most states will provide you with a photo ID for free. That's crazy. It's crazy. So, Bernie, I would encourage you to do that, and I'm sorry you're so perplexed on this issue. Thank y'all for sitting me here.
I mean, I think the person who might probably have the biggest problem with the birth certificate is Barack Obama. Because, you know, his birth certificate's from Kenya, so that'd be a serious problem for him. The Bernie Sanders birth certificate moment is only the surface, but critics are already calling out the political theater on both sides. Southern Belle says the SAVE Act is BS, but there is also no need to play dumb for the people. WTF, you haven't had your birth certificate since you were 7? Liar. Now, if the SAVE Act becomes law, here's your governor saying he doesn't know how to help you.
Voter ID. It's not about voter ID. The SAVE Act's not about that. It's about registration. It's about proving your citizenship with a passport. Not everyone has a passport. If you, I don't know you know where your birth certificate is? I lost that at 7. I mean, I don't even know where to begin to get it back. So these guys are not screwing around. I mentioned the DOJ. I mentioned that we had to go to the Supreme Court. Talk about holding your breath. I've learned to hold my breath now. It used to be a minute, now it's 6 minutes. That just getting stronger and stronger, holding my breath. We were waiting. We didn't know how that decision would go. And so you're absolutely right. We have to be vigilant. We have to have poll workers out there, legal strategies out there. We have to flood the zone. We have to show up in record numbers.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom. You lost your birth certificate at 7. Maybe check the French Laundry, bitch. The pushback reveals deeper partisan battle lines, with Republicans now going on the offensive about the Democrat opposition. Representative Anna Paulina Luna, Democrats are actively working to sabotage the Save America Act and block voter ID while simultaneously accusing President Trump of trying to steal the midterms. Make it make sense.
Yeah, the Democrats have been doing everything possible to ensure that elections are not secure. And then at the same time, they're saying that President Trump is trying to steal the midterms, which is obviously false. But the point is that when you have an entire party that's depending on open, illegal advocacy and basically wanting to give mass amnesty to over 20 million illegal immigrants here in this country, you can see who their voting base is, right? Because we know that Democrats as a whole are actually very supportive of the Save America Act. And so what we're going to be doing, and I think President Trump was very clear about this, and you'll probably hear about it at the State of the Union, but voter ID is a must pass. It's going to secure our elections. It is a non-negotiable, and Leader Thune has a very big decision to make. Is he going to do the right thing and embrace a standing filibuster, or is he going to deny the will of the American people? And there's other ways to get around this. We could put this in FISA, which is a must-pass reauthorization, but I do not believe that Democrats want to secure elections, and it's for reasons that I think people can put two and two together on. Okay.
Yeah, we know why they don't want to secure elections, because they want to steal elections. House Republicans aren't just complaining, they're putting real pressure on the Senate to act after 12 days of inaction. So 12 days since the House passed the Save America Act, the Senate must bring this bill to the floor immediately. Laura Trump.
Down ends. Number one priority will be passing the Save America Act.
Absolutely.
Why is that so important for this country?
It's so simple. To get on an airplane, you need voter ID. To buy a beer, you need voter ID. But to do the most important thing that we do as American citizens, exercising our right to vote, we let anybody vote without any confirmation they actually have the right to vote in our elections. Now, I think, Laura, that's actually a form of theft. Because let's say that you, an American citizen, show up and vote for a candidate, and then somebody else who has no right to vote shows up and votes for a totally different candidate. That person is stealing your vote away from you, stealing your sovereignty as an American citizen. It's very disgraceful. Now, What the Democrats will say, and I always find this so funny, they'll say it's racist to ask for voter ID. I actually think that's kind of racist, assuming that people of color can't get a driver's license. And by the way, if you look at the polling, black, brown, Asian, everybody agrees it is a 90-10 issue that we should have voter ID to vote in our elections. The other thing, and this is my favorite, the Democrats will say, Laura, well, voter ID is not necessary because nobody who's not allowed to vote ever votes in our elections. And my response to that is, well, if nobody who shouldn't vote does vote, then why do you care if we check their ID just to be extra careful?
Why check their ID? While politicians debate, grassroots activists are taking matters to their own hands with direct Capitol Hill pressure. Scott Presler, still on the case, just left the Capitol building. Never thought I would spend so much time on Capitol Hill. We're not stopping until the Save America Act is on President Trump's desk and signed into law.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Presler here on Speaker Johnson's balcony at the Capitol building, fighting for you every single day. And yes, we're going to continue our work to pass the Save America Act. The American people demand free and fair elections. That means proof of citizenship to register to vote, and that means photo voter ID. See you guys soon. Game on.
Scott Presler, that guy never stops, man. Keep going, dude. Keep going. We are supporting your efforts. The pressure is working now. House leadership is publicly demanding Senate action, calling on specific senators. Here's Majority Whip Tom Emmer demanding the Senate listen to 80% of Americans.
Tired of hearing about these cherry-picked polls that say Republicans are down. We've got more young people. We've got all kinds of people turning out. When you talk about that Save America Act, the senators, whether they're Republican or Democrat, do not need to listen to me. Listen to the American people. The American citizen believes, whether it's a Republican, Democrat, or other. In fact, Democrats, more than 70% of them agree that showing proof of citizenship to register to vote and then showing a photo ID when you present yourself to cast a ballot is a reasonable requirement. This is something that the American people want. This is something that's long overdue. And if you want to oppose this, well, then I would argue you're in favor of voter fraud. You're in favor of something less than an open and honest and fair election. Its time has come. The Senate needs to pass the Save America Act and get it to the president's desk as soon as possible.
I want to ask you just one quick follow-up on.
And if you haven't done so yet, you need to text raw feed to 844-840-4963. That's an exclusive alert system we've set up just for you, Next News viewers, so you can be the first to know when we drop new videos and when we go live. We don't want you to miss anything. Costs nothing. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963. So the heat is intensifying on Senate leadership, with fellow Republicans like Ron Johnson issuing urgent warnings about the consequences.
Quite honestly, that we could maintain the filibuster, but that time's passed. Next time Democrats in power, they will nuke it, and we will look like schmucks if we allow them to steal elections by not securing elections. What we're talking about, the Save America Act, it has something like 80% support, voter ID, 80% support or more, no matter what your political ideology is. So this is something the American people support. That's what we would use in, if not ending the filibuster, which I agree, John Thune, we probably don't have the votes right now in the conference, but there's no reason why we can't fight hard and make the Democrats defend their position that's at odds with about 80% of the American public that, opposing voter ID.
Yeah.
Ron Johnson is on the case. Thune's hesitation on filibuster tactics is becoming a major flashpoint that's exposing internal GOP tensions. John Thune has still not committed to using a standing filibuster instead of a zombie filibuster to pass the Save America Act, according to Senator Lee.
I believe Senator Thune is going to bring it forward. I believe he's going to allow us to get a vote. What remains to be seen is exactly what procedure we will use. But I hope in that process, I'll continue to make the case to him and to my other colleagues that filibustering senators should be required to speak. If they don't want this law, let them explain that at length to the American people until they are no longer able to do so.
So should we not expect a talking filibuster until the Department of Homeland Security reopens?
That's my expectation. It's hard to imagine a scenario in which we would begin a process, particularly one that might involve, and I hope will involve, a talking filibuster, we've got to get DHS funded first.
Okay. Senator.
Yeah, we're still talking about this freaking DHS shutdown. The McConnell factor is emerging as a real roadblock with calls for his removal from blocking the bill. C3 writes, this is what's holding up the SAVE Act from leaving committee. McConnell clearly doesn't have a functioning brain. Leader John Thune, do the right thing for America and remove McConnell's owners from blocking the SAVE Act from moving forward. Wow. Did you see that? Like a zombie walking through the halls of Congress. Like literally, like a puppet on strings, McConnell. Mitch McConnell is a no vote on the SAVE Act. Over 90% of his constituents would vote yes, but his owners don't want it. He doesn't have a functioning brain. He is everything wrong with politics. Congress was not meant to be a crooked nursing home.
Partisan cooperation and a string of
oh my. Remember this?
Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, Mitch.
Yeah, that's what's holding up this whole process. Now House Republicans directly attacking McConnell's motives and mental fitness as this escalating intra-party war. Tim Burchett going off on Mitch McConnell for holding up the Save America Act.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. I saw where Mitch McConnell was blocking the SAVE Act this morning. I think it's partially just out of meanness. He doesn't like Trump, and Trump got him in office. Sadly enough, he helped him in that last race extensively. And that's one thing I value in this game is loyalty, and apparently he doesn't. But he's blocking the SAVE Act. And, or is he? Is it him or a staff member? Because, as you know, he's a lot like Joe Biden was in his last few days in office, or last years in office, last 4 years really. His cognizant level is diminishing daily. You know, I've always remembered we had a chairman of a committee, and I asked in committee. In our conference meeting, I asked if how much money was in this bill, and she responded, "I don't know. Next question." And I said, "No. How much money is in this dadgum bill?" And his immediately staffers were like, "You can't be asking that. You can't be asking that." Well, dadgummit, you know, this thing ain't supposed to be some retirement village. It's supposed to be the United States Congress and the Senate. But here's what it's turned into. And it is wrong. You've got staffers that are running this thing. The lady that I asked those questions of, it turns out for over 6 weeks, she never showed up and nobody knew where she was. But her staff kept running the office. And she was in a
Nursing home.
Retirement village for people that were in cognizant decline, to put it lightly. And that's what's going on in Washington. You've got these staffers, again, that are too close to the lobbyists, too close to whatever, and they're running the show. And it needs to stop. I've called it out. I've called it out to our leadership, and they do nothing about it. But this is where we're at. The SAVE Act is stopped because Mitch McConnell. And he's got a staffer that's running his show, not him. So anyway, it's a pitiful state. You need to get a hold of our leadership and let them know this cannot continue. It cannot continue. Thank y'all for sending me here.
Tim Burchett, always a voice of reason. The mask is off. McConnell's blocking popular legislation out of personal vendetta against Trump while his own mental faculties crumble. His staff controls the agenda while he can barely string together coherent sentences. This is exactly the swamp creature behavior that Trump was elected to drain. happening right inside the Republican Party. This is why Trump's victory was just the beginning and not the end. The real battle is against establishment Republicans who would rather see America fail than see Trump succeed. McConnell's cognitive decline isn't the problem. It's that his handlers are using his position to undermine election integrity while hiding behind his diminished capacity. You see, the SAVE Act should be a slam dunk, but the swamp always finds a way to protect itself. Do you think it's time for Republicans to remove McConnell from any leadership position before he does more damage to Trump's agenda? What are you thinking about that? Check out the Next News merch shop for gear that shows you stand with America first and not the establishment sellouts. All right, moving right along. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday. It's great to be back in studio. Great to see all y'all in the chat room here, hanging out with me and Bella, Dave, Ron, the Don, and Bill, Scott Tech. Did I see the Canadian Olympic guys cheat? No, I didn't watch the Olympics. I never watched sports. Who else is here? Zero flux given. I love it. I love it. All right, let's move on. We got to talk about what's going on down in Mexico because it is getting out of control. Exclusive footage shows Canadian tourists trapped in Puerto Vallarta hotels as cartel violence erupts following the reported death of notorious leader El Menco. Burning vehicle block streets, gunfire echoes through resort areas, and WestJet and Air Canada have canceled all flights, while Democrats have allowed cartels to flood across our open border. This explosion of violence south of the border reveals just how dangerous these criminal organizations have become. For millions of Americans who vacation in Mexico, this changes everything. Popular resort destinations are now active war zones where tourists become hostages in cartel conflicts. The ripple effects hits our own economy as travel companies lose billions and American families cancel vacation plans. But here's the political reality Democrats don't want you to see. Their open border policies have empowered these same cartels operating on American soil. Every fentanyl death, every human trafficking case, every cartel execution in American cities connects back to criminal networks now holding Canadian tourists hostage. This isn't just Mexico's problem anymore. It's ours. And speaking of national security threats, here is something that's brewing. The most investors are completely missing. Breaking tonight, while Wall Street fixes on gold and silver and headline commodities, there's a strategic metal that's quietly driving defense policy, military procurement, and geopolitical planning behind the scenes. It's not flashy. Most investors never talk about it. But governments and defense contractors are stockpiling it like crazy. As cartel violence explodes and border security becomes critical, defense spending is about to skyrocket. The military applications for this metal are classified, but the investment opportunity is not, and SAGA Metals has positioned themselves at the epicenter of this supply chain. While everybody else chases yesterday's metals, SAGA is mining tomorrow's strategic advantage. When national security becomes the priority, this metal becomes essential. The smart money is already moving into titanium. And you can learn more about SAGA Metals and their strategic positioning at the link down in the description, because there's a classified briefing that's been prepared just for you. Now back to this developing crisis. But here's what the mainstream media won't tell you. The cartel war is not random violence. Now, Zhejiang has been expanding their operations across the American border for years, and now they're flexing their power. The government of Canada's shelter-in-place advisories means foreign tourists are essentially prisoners. Meanwhile, social media footage shows military personnel in full combat gear engaging cartel fighters in resort areas where families should be enjoying vacations. Representative Crow suggests partnering with Mexico's president to defeat the cartels.
Congressman, lastly, Americans in several parts of Mexico this morning are being told to shelter in place after the longtime leader of one of that country's most powerful drug cartels was killed in a Mexican military operation yesterday. His death set off a wave of violence carried out by the cartels in retaliation. Roadblocks were set up, gas stations set ablaze, and airports were attacked, leading to cancellations and closures. The U.S. Embassy's warning to shelter in place extended to as many as 5 different Mexican states at one point. Reports of gunmen on the streets and vehicles set fire resulted in a heavy police presence in multiple areas. Reuters spoke to tourists who described the resort town of Puerto Vallarta as a war zone. However, on social media yesterday afternoon, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum posted that in the vast majority of Mexico yesterday, activities were proceeding with complete normality. Congressman, the White House has said they supplied some intelligence to Mexico for this strike that killed the cartel leader. Let's get your reaction to that, but just your thoughts on the ongoing security situation there in Mexico, which, of course, not only are there Americans there, but is set to help co-host the World Cup with the United States, including in some of those very cities in just a couple of months.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't look good. I mean, we've all seen the sites, the videos online, and on your show and others. It's a difficult situation. This is actually a perfect example of why we have capability, why we should have a State Department, why we should have soft power tools, but why we also have a military and we have law enforcement to actually protect Americans, right? So we should be doing everything possible to protect Americans, to make sure they are taken out of harm's way. That means we do everything to evacuate folks from these areas that we need to do without apology. We should just protect our people, and we should be working with President Sheinbaum to go after these cartels. I believe in that, right? We have to end these transnational organizations. We have to do it lawfully, though. We should have to do it within the confines of what the United States Congress has been engaged to do and to authorize. And we have to end the scourge of these transnational organizations. But again, lawfully and at the same time as we are protecting Americans.
That's only the beginning. Setting up the angle. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum facing major backlash after repeatedly rejecting President Trump's offer to deploy U.S. military force to crush the cartels. President Trump's there. He's ready to help. They don't want it. Mexico's rejecting it. Here's where it gets darker with direct cartel control. Cartel violence is being allowed in Mexico because President Claudia Sheinbaum works for the cartel. Wall Street Apes writes. The senator from Mexico went on Fox News and exposed it all.
President of Mexico is furious. She's calling Mexican Senator Lili Tellez a traitor for coming on Fox Noticias with me a few days ago and saying this. Listen.
The help from the United States to fight the cartels in Mexico is absolutely welcome, and that is how the majority of Mexicans feel. The only ones who don't like that President Trump is sending help and trying to support Mexicans against the cartels are the narco politicians. That includes President Sheinbaum.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum responding, saying, quote, "It's not a minor issue that a senator gave an interview to a foreign media outlet calling for intervention." Here to discuss is that Mexican Senator Lili Tellez. Senator Tellez, welcome to Fox Noticias. I'm just going to get right to it. Is Mexico a narco state?
Yes, it is. And we all Mexicans know about it. And Mexicans are afraid of the alliance between the Mexican government and the cartels that have infested our nation.
Can you explain this alliance between the president, her party, the Morena party, and the cartels?
Yes, the party has financed, has given, the cartels have given so much money to these politicians, narco politicians of Morena, to get into office, to get the power. So they protect the Mexican government protects the cartels. That is why President Sheinbaum doesn't want the strong American leadership to help Mexico defeat the cartels. And also Sheinbaum doesn't want the rest of the world to know what is happening here in Mexico. We are on the steps to be the next Venezuela. She is aligned with Venezuela's dictator, with Cuba, and we are losing our country. They have destroyed our Republican institutions, the democratic state, and we must I think we all Mexicans want and welcome the support of the United States to assist Mexican people against the cartels that have us all in this crisis with the traffic in fentanyl and migrants.
So her response to this, and I know this because her spokesperson came on our show in response to your interview, and they say, well, we just turned over 26 cartel members. We're working, we're sharing intelligence. What are they not doing? And why is she so resistant? She sort of speaks out of two sides of her mouth. We're working with you, Trump, and then she's the president of Mexico.
Wall Street Apes exposes the puppet strings, and now let's see how this plays out on the ground. There's literally no way out of Puerto Vallarta right now. Just goes to show how quickly society can break down. Oh boy.
Reporting live from Mexico, about 25 minutes from Puerto Vallarta, where there's a massive cartel war happening right now. Last night, one of the biggest cartel bosses was captured. There was a 10 million bounty on his head. Now, Puerto Vallarta is on fire. The airport is shut down. All local businesses and transportation shut down. And along the highway, all the way from Puerto Vallarta, there's one major highway from there to all the little towns. Along the highway, buses, transports, Ubers, taxis are all being lit on fire on the highway. So we have been told not to leave. We're safe at our condo. I will report back with more information.
Imagine being on vacation, and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. The lockdown is real, and it's hitting tourists who thought they were safe. Elbows up. Canadians choose to vacation in Mexico instead of the U.S. Now they're surrounded by cartel warfare, and Air Canada has canceled flights out of Puerto Vallarta.
So I don't know if you can see that, but I can see the flames underneath that black smoke. Major flames there, huge plumes everywhere. Another big one over there. Another one directly behind this resort we're staying at. Pretty much surrounded by this right now. Really intense scene happening here in Puerto Vallarta. Hopefully we're able to get out tomorrow, but the airports are shut down as it is right now. And as I understand it, military may be getting involved soon. Power may be cut very soon. So pray for us, guys. The situation's intense.
And they're just hanging out on the beach as the cities burn around them. Canadian vacationers now prisoners, and here is the name behind the nightmare: El Mencho, Puerto Vallarta.
Okay guys, what's happening in Mexico right now is truly astonishing. Authorities in Jalisco have declared a statewide code red. Cars have been lit on fire. Many shops have been shut down. Schools have been cancelled for tomorrow, Monday. Roadblocks are being set up. Chaos has erupted at the Guadalajara airport, with people seen running in panic. The US and Canada, they've warned their citizens in the area to shelter indoors. And there's many videos of these plumes of smoke that could be seen rising from the tourist city of Puerto Vallarta. So you're probably wondering, what the hell is going on? Well, today the Mexican army carried out a pretty astonishing operation which killed a major cartel leader. El Mencho was one of the most wanted drug lords in the entire world and was the head of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. This cartel is one of the most powerful, aggressive, and fastest growing criminal organizations in the entire country. They are known to attack the military, including their armored vehicles, attack their helicopters with rocket launchers, and they've even begun pioneering, they're one of the first to do this, launching explosives from drones and installing mines. And the leader of that cartel, well, the US had a $15 million bounty set on him. And now, I don't know, who gets the money? And so the chaos that we're seeing erupting today in the state of Jalisco seems to be a retaliation from this cartel. But one of the craziest parts is that these cities in which this is happening are majorly populated cities. Puerto Vallarta is the country's 4th largest tourism destination, while Guadalajara is the 2nd largest city in Mexico, and it's set to host a number of games in this year's World Cup. Now, this is still a developing situation, so I'll keep you guys updated, but crazy.
Doesn't stop there, though. Buildings set on fire during ongoing clashes. Here's more footage. Buildings ablaze. It's not just gang violence. This is war in a tourist paradise. Reports describe clashes between Zhejiang and Mexican forces in Puerto Vallarta. Authorities expect to release official updates as security operations continue in the area. Scenes out of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, as the Zhejiang cartel and Mexican forces clash. The official confirmation of the battle, but the chaos has deeper roots. Wall Street Apes points out, I'd like to point out that Democrats facilitated a completely open border and allowed a limited cartel presence in America. Now Puerto Vallarta, Mexico is on fire because of cartel violence. Streets are blocked with burning cars and car bombings are taking place. Border connection lands now see exclusive footage of tourists trapped in the crossfire. Here's more exclusive footage from Edmontonians sheltering in a hotel, showing the situation in Puerto Vallarta where the cartel is reportedly taking the city hostage. WestJet and Air Canada flights have been canceled. Scenes from a vacation war zone on your screen. Dark plumes of smoke, this is CBS News, from burning vehicles rose above the skyline in Mexico's Puerto Vallarta, a resort city in the state of Jalisco, on Sunday after cartel leader El Mencho was killed in a military raid, leaving the coastal destination shrouded in smoke and tension. Here's some drone footage. Black smoke rises. Wow. Those are the scenes from Mexico happening right now. CBS confirming it. Daily Mail also covering it.
Mexico has been plunged into chaos following the death of top drug lord El Mencho. He was killed during a military operation supported by US intelligence in the western state of Jalisco. He led the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, a criminal organization so ruthless that President Donald Trump classified it as a terrorist organization. Within hours of his death, cartel gunmen blocked highways, torched vehicles, and took over the streets, plunging Mexico into all-out war. Smoke rose over cities including Guadalajara, a host city for the upcoming FIFA World Cup. Officials reported around 250 roadblocks, bank branches being set on fire, and mass looting. The US State Department has since issued travel warnings and a shelter-in-place warning for the US citizens in affected areas described by tourists as war zones. El Mencho wasn't just another cartel boss. He controlled major fentanyl, meth, and cocaine routes into the US and had a $15 million bounty on his head. He was linked to beheadings, mass killings, and even an extermination ranch discovered last year containing underground crematorium ovens and hundreds of shoes. Once a former police officer, he built a private army equipped with grenade launchers, drones, and even helicopters, openly challenging the Mexican state. Now, with his removal, authorities fear violent retaliation as groups fight to fill the vacuum. But for now, they're dealing with the immediate consequence of removing one of the most powerful and violent figures in the country's modern history.
Good God. The U.S. tracked the Zhejiang leader El Mencho for years, and now that he's gone, will there be no more coke in America? For now, who knows? Cartels don't exactly close up shop because management has changed. Mexico's Secretary of National Defense is publicly praising U.S. support following the killing of the leader. We also benefit from U.S. institutions and intelligence agencies, and this allowed us to dismantle the information networks.
Con el gobierno de los Estados Unidos, ya.
Trump's team takes credit for the kill, but now Americans across Mexico are paying the price. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirms the U.S. supplied intel to Mexico in the operation.
Vallarta, as well as a local airport, are under siege.
Yeah, this comes after a joint operation between the U.S. and Mexico that took out the country's most wanted drug leader.
Madeline Rivera joins us live from Washington with the details. Good morning, Maddie.
Good morning. That's right. Several airlines have canceled flights to Puerto Vallarta because of the unrest following this military operation. United, Southwest, and American Airlines are among those who stopped their service to the popular tourist destination on Sunday. Videos show burnt cars and plumes of smoke billowing over the city, with government officials warning of clashes in the state of Jalisco. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico now issuing this shelter-in-place warning for other states besides Jalisco as well. The Mexican Army says it conducted operations in Tapalpa, Jalisco, targeting Nemesio Ruben Osguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. They say Osguera Cervantes died while on an airlift to Mexico City. The State Department once had a $15 million award for his arrest.
One of the main producers of fentanyl that traffics onto U.S. streets is also by far the most militarized cartel. You'll often see pictures of these guys dressed up like they think they're special forces units. So this is a welcome change, because we've seen the Mexican government, along with our help, going after a lot of the Sinaloa cartel recently.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed the U.S. had a supporting role. She said on X the U.S. provided intelligence support to the Mexican government in order to assist with an operation in Tapalpa, Jalisco, Mexico, in which Nemesio El Mencho Osguera Cervantes, an infamous drug lord and leader within the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, was eliminated. President Trump had been pressuring Mexico to crack down on drug cartels. Lawrence Ainsley and Brian.
Derek Evans posts, State Department issues shelter-in-place alerts for Americans in multiple Mexican states.
The U.S. State Department is telling Americans in Mexico to shelter in place as law enforcement tries to regain control of cities that have fallen into chaos in the hands of the Mexican cartels. This is after the Mexican military took out a notorious cartel kingpin with U.S. support. And we're learning a little bit more about our role in all of that. Not a lot of detail, but we had one. The carnage, cars torched, roads blocked, banks and local businesses set on fire as those cartels are now fighting for power. It's like everybody else is in the middle of a gang war right now.
So the footage from Edmonton tourists hiding in hotels tells the real story. These aren't isolated incidents or random crime. This is organized warfare between cartels and government forces in areas packed with North American tourists. When vacation destinations become battlegrounds and international flights get canceled due to cartel violence, we're witnessing the complete breakdown of security that open border policies have created. Well, this cartel explosion in Puerto Vallarta exposes the true cost of weak border policies. While Canadian tourists shelter in hotels and flights get canceled, these same criminal organizations operate freely across our southern border thanks to Democrat policies. The violence that's trapping tourists in Mexico today is the same violence flooding American communities tomorrow. Every canceled vacation, every terrified tourist, every burning vehicle in these Mexican streets represents the failure of leaders who prioritize politics over public safety. Do you think it's time to secure our borders before this cartel violence spreads even further into American communities? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to check out the Next News merch shop for gear that shows you stand with America First policies. All right, looks like Chris has dropped by with a $5 bill. McConnell and every politician need term limits and cognition tests after age 65. I can get behind that for sure. Thank you, sir. Thanks to Chad and James and Chris for dropping super chats today. And to Ruby for bringing in some new members. Always exciting to see that. Okay, so, yeah, we got to get into the lunacy that is the New York City mayor now. Yeah, it's out of control. But we're going to break it all down for you. New York City's communist mayor Zohran Mamdani is getting absolutely destroyed by his own voters after pulling the oldest Democrat trick in the book. He promised to tax only the rich during his campaign, but now he's threatening a crushing 9.5% property tax hike on everyone to cover his massive budget deficit. The buyer's remorse is so real that even longtime Democrats are calling him out publicly. You see, this affects every single person in New York City, whether you own property or rent property. Owners will get slammed with nearly 10% higher taxes, and renters will see those costs passed directly to them through higher rent. Small businesses are already struggling with vacant storefronts post-COVID, and this will crush what's left of New York's economy. But here's the really infuriating part. When Mamdani demands higher taxes from hardworking families, he's cutting 5,000 police officers and bloating the city budget with millions for DEI bureaucrats, diversity officers, and cultural programs. He's literally prioritizing woke ideology over public safety while your taxes skyrocket. Can't make this up. And speaking of priorities, there's something critical happening right now that most people are missing completely. Yes, breaking tonight, while Wall Street fixates on gold and silver and headline commodities, there's a strategic battle quietly driving defense policy, military procurement, and geopolitical planning behind the scenes. It's not flashy, and most investors never even discuss it, but governments and defense contractors are stockpiling it aggressively. Now, this metal, it powers everything from advanced weapon systems to critical infrastructure that keeps America secure. While politicians waste taxpayer money on DEI programs, smart Americans are positioning themselves in the resources that actually matter for national security. I'm talking about titanium. Yeah, I have titanium in my wedding band. You see, the supply chains are tightening, and demand from defense contractors is surging. And most people have no idea that this opportunity exists. And SAGA Metals has the inside track on this strategic resource that's flying completely under the radar. Now, take a look at the full briefing that's been prepared just for you at the link in the description, and we thank them for supporting this program. Now back to the New York disaster that's unfolding in real time. Here's what makes this even more outrageous. Angry New Yorkers are confronting Mamdani directly at public meetings, telling him he's out of his goddamn mind for using them as negotiating tactics. Even Democrat advisor Melissa DeRosa admits this is political self-ending and the complete betrayal of his affordability promises. The man literally campaigned on solving the affordability crisis and immediately makes everything less affordable. And this just in, update, to register to shovel snow in Mamdani's New York City, you must present 2 forms of ID plus a social security card. And we're talking about being called a racist if you ask for ID to vote. Discrimination. But in New York, you got to have 2 forms of ID and a social security card. Yeah, see it right there on your screen? To register for an appointment, workers must have 2 small photos, 2 original forms of ID plus copies and a social security card. I mean, make it make sense, folks. The snow shoveling registration requirement is about to get even more ridiculous when you hear the full details. Gunter Eagleman, LMFAO, New York's DSA mayor is not only failing at basic mayoral duties, but he's getting mocked across the spectrum for everything he does. The American people are realizing that commie Fs like Mamdani are dipshits. He's hiring emergency snow shovelers.
mayor and a member of the Democrat Socialists of America opposes voter ID laws. His party has called measures like the SAVE Act racist and discriminatory. But if you want to shovel snow in the Big Apple during an emergency, you better bring your paperwork. According to the New York City Sanitation Department website, to register as an emergency snow shoveler, applicants must show up with 2 small photos, 2 original forms of ID, plus copies and your Social Security card. That's more than you're required to fly. This is much more onerous than the TSA. The city says the ID requirements are about verifying identity, eligibility, and payroll compliance. Oh, so now you care if somebody is legal in this country. But when is ID considered a safeguard, and when is it considered a barrier? Jackie's face. If her face
As somebody who goes to the polls myself and voluntarily takes out my ID only to get laughed at here in New York for showing an ID, I'm finding this rather curious. A Mamdani spokesperson told the New York Post this regarding the situation. As with any employer, the city of New York has a legal obligation under federal law to verify work authorization and maintain proper documentation before issuing payment. We are not legally permitted to hand out checks without completing that process. So they are following the strict letter of the law here, but we are a glorious sanctuary city.
Can't make it up, folks. The hypocrisy gets sharper when Mamdani himself tries to defend the requirements. Mamdani on why you need ID plus Social Security card and photos to get paid $19 an hour to shovel New York City snow.
There's been this controversy over the snow laborers and the sort of what some see as onerous need to have documentation. Can you just talk about if that's new and what you make of the controversy?
This is all long-standing. This is a long-standing program and long-standing requirements, and this is a way that New Yorkers get paid to shovel snow in assistance with the city's response to a winter storm event. Federal law requires that employers get authorization and documentation to pay people for their work. We are not allowed to just cut checks to individuals for their work. And these are the policies that we've had in place, but I understand that for many it's the first time that they've ever heard about it.
Yeah, Mamdani. The guy's a joke. Mamdani blasted for requiring 5 forms of ID to shovel, while DSA opposes voter ID. The contradiction becomes crystal clear when you see how this compares to voting requirements. Mamdani is begging New Yorkers to sign up to shovel snow after mountains of snow and garbage were left on streets for weeks. He asked people to register online, which requires ID. ID to shovel snow, but no ID to vote.
Utilizing 33 DSNY vans and 2 DSNY buses to transport shovelers where they're needed faster. And for those who want to do more to help your neighbors and earn some extra cash, you too can become an emergency snow shoveler. Just show up at your local sanitation garage between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. tomorrow with your paperwork, which is accessible online at nyc.gov/snow, and you can get started right away.
But you don't need an ID to vote. Yeah. Fareed Zakaria, blue cities are out of control, promising more spending, but delivering less. This is on CNN.
Is really a prime example of a problem Democrats seem unwilling to confront. Blue cities are out of control, promising more, spending more, delivering less, and pushing off the fiscal problems to some future day. Take Los Angeles, another one-party metropolis wrestling with affordability and disorder. The city's homelessness budget for fiscal year 2025-26 totals about $950 million. The LA Homelessness Services Authority reported that in 2023, homelessness was up 9% countywide and 10% in the city. And a 2024 AP account noted that homelessness has surged 70% countywide since 2015 and 80% in the city. All this amid public frustration despite billions spent. An audit reviewed $2.4 billion in city homelessness funding and found that officials could not reliably track where it went or what it achieved. Or take Chicago, with a mayor whose approval rating is deep underwater, where the pension promises are so large that they will surely bankrupt the city at some point. What is the theory of good government here? If the answer is keep adding programs, the city will keep producing unaffordability, because unaffordability is what happens when government becomes a machine that grows faster than the society it governs. Zoran Mamdani's basic instinct is correct. Focus on affordability, especially housing, but not by providing government subsidies. These only seem to have driven up the cost of rent, as subsidies naturally do. The city's rental assistance spending rose from $263 million in fiscal year 2020 to $1.34 billion in the most recently reported fiscal year. That is a 5 times increase in a handful of years, and housing costs only got worse.
What's funny here is that's on CNN. CNN's calling out blue cities. The criticism is escalating beyond just the snow issue to Mamdani's entire governance approach. Mamdani has just issued a travel ban for New York City and closed bridges, tunnels, and streets with justification, better stay home. A travel ban?
Mamdani just issued a travel ban in New York City, shutting down the bridges, the tunnels, the streets, saying you better stay your ass in your house. Isn't that interesting? And if you do want to come outside, you got to bring your documentation, bring your papers, bring 2 pieces of ID, social security card, pictures. And the only way you can come outside is if you're working for us, you shoveling that snow. So interesting how socialism feels so much like authoritarianism. But don't worry, you'll have the warmth of collectivism to keep you comfy.
Wow. The warmth of collectivism. Yeah, isn't that cute? We told you. Unfortunately, you just refused to listen. Now, you residents are shocked. All voters out there, pay attention.
Donnie, this guy's been mayor of New York City for 1 month, okay? What he promised was a free bus for everybody, grocery stores run by the government for, poor people to get food, which is a good thing, I think. And that rent was gonna go down. Those were like the big 3 things he promised everybody. So today he's got his first meeting with the city about the budget. And what he says is, I'm raising property taxes on everybody by 10%, okay? Rent's not gonna go down, actually. He's draining $1 billion from the rainy day fund, which I don't even know what that is, but it doesn't sound good. And none of the free stuff that he promised is actually happening.
None of it's happening. It is just going down the shitter there in New York. Democrat advisor Melissa DeRosa reacts to Mamdani's proposed property tax hike.
It's very interesting because he ran an entire campaign on affordability, right? Saying affordability crisis, affordability crisis, affordability crisis. And now he's basically saying to Kathy Hochul, he's putting a gun to his own head, and he's saying, give me your wallet or I'll shoot. Because this is political suicide if he were to do something like this. And it would impact not just people, who are renting, because obviously real estate owners pass along these tax increases to the people who are renting and to homeowners, but small businesses. There are still far too many vacant storefronts in New York City post-COVID. So this would have ripple effects that are unending.
Keep raising taxes. New York socialist mayor Zoran Mamdani getting roasted for the epic waste and priorities gone wrong while pushing huge property taxes.
Equity, $4.6 million, commission on racial equity, $835,000, commission on gender equity, $260,000 for Department of Education, chief diversity officer, $301,000 for 3 FDNY civilian chief diversity inclusion officers. There's a title for you. And $118,000 for an FDNY chief diversity inclusion officers. Is that necessary stuff? You can't cut that back?
And a list of things to do when it comes to public safety? Absolutely not. Public safety's got to be in the top of your list. So we can't pay for everything. Everything can't be for free. But what you need is cops out in the street. Tell me how all these programs are going to help when you're getting robbed in the middle of the street.
Yeah, and
Tell me how it works.
Yeah, you tell me. Believe me, he's about to find out, sadly. Mamdani's progressive agenda includes new budgets items like $750,000 for Art and Cultural Fund, $800,000 for anti-ageism, $437 million for child care vouchers, LGBTQ emergency for $2 million. It goes on. And you pointed out his climate change budget. What's he spending on that?
Something like a climate management office for.
Oh my goodness. New Yorkers are waking up fast. Buyer's remorse is real after voting for socialist Zoran Mamdani.
With the greatest respects, in every campaign speech, in every debate where you engage, we opened our ears to listen. Now today, accept the words echoing from us now. Do your job as mayor and leave our taxes out.
Having only two options. You're saying if we don't tax the rich, then I gotta increase property taxes. We are not a pawn in Southeast Queens. We are not part of your negotiation tactics. Zoran Mamdani, you are out your goddamn mind.
So this is the socialist playbook in action, folks. Promise everything, blame the rich, then stick working families with the bill while expanding government bureaucracy. Mamdani allocated $750,000 for arts funding and millions for LGBTQ emergency programs. But he's cutting cops when crime is already out of control. New Yorkers are waking up to what they've actually voted for. And this is exactly what happens when you elect communists who promise free everything. They campaign on taxing someone else, then immediately come for your wallet while spending your money on woke priorities instead of basic services like public safety. New Yorkers thought they were getting affordable government, but they're getting the opposite. Higher taxes, fewer cops, and more bureaucrats. The buyer's remorse is real because the promises were fake from day one. Do you think New Yorkers will finally learn their lesson about voting for communists who promise the impossible? Check out the Next News merch shop and let me know in the comments. And there you have it, folks. 5 stories that perfectly illustrate exactly why the establishment is so terrified of America First policies succeeding. We started tonight with the shocking attack at Mar-a-Lago, where Secret Service agents had to neutralize an armed intruder carrying a shotgun and a fuel can. Austin Tucker Martin, a North Carolina artist, breached the secure perimeter with clear violent intent. This was not some random incident. It's part of a disturbing pattern of escalating threats against President Trump that the media conveniently ignores. Then we showed you the Supreme Court's tariff ruling and how the Trump administration is responding with characteristic strength. Despite decades of globalist fear-mongering, tariffs have delivered exactly what was promised. Successful trade negotiations, reshored manufacturing, and billions in new American investments. The results speak for themselves, which is why the establishment hates them. But not everyone in Washington is celebrating American success. We expose how Mitch McConnell and established Republicans are actively sabotaging the Save America Act. This legislation designed to protect our election, right? Tim Burchett's explosive takedown of McConnell revealed the petty vindictiveness is driving this betrayal. These swamp creatures would rather spite Trump than secure our republic. And south of the border, we witnessed the deadly consequences of Democrat border policies. Canadian tourists trapped in Puerto Vallarta hotels while cartel gunfights rage in the streets. This is what unchecked criminal power looks like. For 4 years, Democrats pretended cartel violence didn't exist. Now innocent families are paying the price for their willful blindness. And finally, we took you to New York City, where socialist, or I should say communist, Mayor Zoran Mamdani faces furious backlash over massive property tax hikes. He campaigned promising to tax the rich, not you, then immediately demanded 9.5% property tax increases on working families. The heated confrontation we showed you perfectly captured how fed up New Yorkers are with their own terrible choices. Each story connects to the same truth. Conservative policies deliver results, while liberal governance creates chaos. From economic prosperity to border security, from election integrity to fiscal responsibility, the contrast could not be clearer. Yet the corporate media works overtime to hide these connections. Remember our opening? On February 23rd, 1836, brave Americans began their 13-day stand at the Alamo against impossible odds. Their sacrifice became the rallying cry that secured Texas independence today. That same fighting spirit drives President Trump and every American who refuses to surrender our nation against globalist destruction. The Alamo defenders knew that some battles are worth fighting regardless of the odds. You see, they understood that freedom requires courage and sacrifice and unwavering determination, and that legacy lives on in everyone who refuses to accept America's decline as inevitable. Before we go, check out the shop in the shelf below this video. Thanks to all of our Super Chat and Rumble Rant contributors. You guys make the fight possible. The establishment wants you demoralized and defeated, but we're winning. America's winning, and they know it. I'm Gary Franchi. This has been The Raw Feed. We'll see you tomorrow night. Stay free.
No hate.